Hi, both.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm having some gremlins. That's not my name.
I'm trying to get my camera on. It was on earlier on. Oh, there.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me okay?
All good, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi there. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Cliff.
Hi.
Sorry about that. We had another webinar running. We don't usually have them running quite as tight as this. So the first time that happened, so I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's fine. We've got here. So we can start it when we're ready in any case. Absolutely fine. So I'll have a go at just sharing the slides I've got, and then I know, Cliff, you're going to share yours. I just want to make sure they're working. Hi, Samantha. Sorry about that little rush there to join.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. I'm wondering, is there a way to change my name? Because that's not my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
if you right click on your picture, it'll
Thank
go down
you.
to
Sorry.
rename. I just did mine as well.
Thank you.
Right, I'll just share. Oh, great. Now I'm getting a thing saying my internet connection's unstable. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it?
I can see your screen, Lorraine, if that's any help.
Yes. Can you see the presentation screen?
No.
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 Let me just see. For some reason, it's not bringing out the usual choice.
Samantha, I'll just change your name to your name. Is that okay?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm struggling. I'm not used to Zoom. Thanks.
All right.
No, I'm not either. I'm a bit like, oh.
Swap this over to the other side.
We're seeing your home screen with all your files on it.
I'm just seeing if I can change it now. Can you see it now?
You're on. Well done, Lorraine.
Thank you. I'm just gonna get you on the other screen. Wait a minute to sort this out.
Okay, let me know when we're ready to
Usually-
go, and I'll admit everybody.
Okay, not quite yet. I just need to get this
No worries.
fixed. I need to be able to see you guys too. Let me move this. If you have it the other way around, it doesn't matter as long as you can see it. Just want to get my notes as well. I'll be waiting with bated breath, won't I? We're good. Is everybody okay to go?
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Good luck,
Brilliant.
everybody.
Thanks, Poppy.
I'll be in the background. Shout if you need anything.
Excellent. Thank you.
So Lorraine, sorry, just to ask quickly, you're going to control the slides then? Is that?
Yes, I've got the slides here.
And you'll...
And it's probably, I'll just say a little introduction,
Okay.
and then if we all mute until we're ready for that, that would be great, just for background noise. So welcome everyone joining the session this morning. It's good to see that we have really good attendance. We had a great sign up for this, which just shows how important people see the issue of quality in highways. And I know a lot of you will be from the scheme delivery framework. That's the program that this is under. But of course, because it's a lunch and learn, it's actually open to any suppliers across the frameworks at National Highways. So welcome this morning. It would be nice before we start if you wanted to drop in, just we'll be using the chat and the Q&A facility. So if you wanted to drop it into the chat, where you're from, your job title, and if you want to say something about why you're here in terms of quality, you can do as well. Leave that to you to decide. We're really keen on participation this morning. So anything general we'll have in the chat, and if you're able to put actual questions in the Q&A instead, that would be good, because it just makes it easier for the panelists to see them in amongst other general chat, and then we'll answer the questions as we go at the end of each section of the presentations. So yeah, I'm Lorraine Sweeney. I'm a project manager at Supply Chain Sustainability School. We just wanted to flag up that we have a lot of e-learning pathways available at the moment, one of which is on quality, so that you can access these, and all the details will be on the slides. There's going to be a new one on network occupancy, I can just about say it, launching soon. So in terms of quality, we have 3 speakers this morning. So we have Lisa, who I'm sure a lot of you will know as Head of Quality for Operations at National Highways. We also have Cliff Smith, who is Executive Director at the Get It Right First Time Initiative. And we also have Samantha Ratcliffe, who's Technical Development and Governance Manager at Atkins Realis too. So a really good panel for you. We are going to be discussing the issue of quality, looking at from the whole project life cycle, end-to-end process, discussing as well why it's important for National Highways, how it can also help with benefits for your business and outcomes for your business, which is obviously critical, as well as, you know, embedding quality itself. What are the outcomes for your business? So without further ado, I'm just going to hand over now to Lisa.
Great. Thanks, Lorraine. Afternoon, all. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And not quite used to Zoom as much as I am with Teams, but I think I've got the hang of it. And Lorraine's going to kindly take control of the screen, so that would be great. So as introduced, my name is Lisa Marrick. I'm Head of Quality for Operations. I can't see where you're from. I'm hoping I will know at least some of you if you're working on the scheme delivery framework or on the pavement delivery framework. My background is operations, so I was working in operations in the Midlands region prior to this role as a supplier relationship manager, so maybe our paths cross then as well. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks. So who are we? So we're the quality team. We sit in, obviously we're part of National Highways. We sit in SES, which is the Safety Engineering Standards Directorate. Working, our exec director is Mike Wilson, and our director here within our group is Paul Doney. So although I am the head of quality for operations, we work as a really close, tight team. Because obviously what we do with the supply chain, it's the major project supply chain, it's the ops supply chain, and there, there's obviously that interface and overlap between us. Andy Grove there is listed as head of profession, but sort of head of profession in terms of the major projects lead. Next slide, please. I was going to start this slide with a bit of an apology in case you've seen this before, and then afterwards I thought, well, no, actually, it's great if you've seen it before, because it means that actually our comms is getting out there and our message is landing. So that would be great if you're seeing it before. And I'm hoping today I'll be going into a bit more detail on some of the stuff you might not have seen before. Okay, so why now? What is this all about? We'd like to say sort of fairly new group within National Highways. So probably about a year and a half ago, we carried out an independent assessment of us as an organisation in terms of our maturity and quality. And this was in the focus on scheme delivery, delivering our projects, major projects and ops, a really extensive piece of work. And you can see there within that table that we scored fairly basic and, a really good platform to improve. But we used this report to go to our board, to Nick Harris, our chief exec, and say, these are the findings here. There's definitely room for improvement. Should we? What's your feelings on this? So we then had the support of the board, and it was literally from that time actually that SHEC was formed. Prior to that, it had been safety, health, environment. Now we've got the Q for the quality. So it's really sort of got that high profile within the organisation and the support of our high sort of senior leadership team across the board. And then we sort of think, well, why then? You know, why do we want to sort of put some resource into this? And to me, these seem sort of so obvious. You know, I sometimes think, do I need to say them? But we do run through them. There's the obvious in terms of just the wider cost of rework. There's the cost implication of that, but on top of that, there's also there's the financial impact in terms of costs. There's the resource impact. There's the carbon impact going out again when we shouldn't really need to. There's the customer disruption impact in terms of that negativity where we've got to go back out and put another road closure on, whereas if we'd got it right first time, wouldn't be having to do that. There's also the consideration of the sort of the risk of our asset failure and the lifespan of our assets actually in terms of, are they lasting as long as they should in terms of our design standards? We have the design standards, but, in terms of of being out on the network, how long are those assets lasting? So yeah, and all of that as well. When we talk about that financial impact here, we our understanding from Giri there is that quality issues can account for between 10 and 25% of project costs. Now that's just substantial, isn't it? Really, if we look at that figure, and that's not just a figure for us in National Highways. Just picking on the point that Lorraine mentioned earlier, that's for you as well within your businesses. The savings that you can make there, if we're sort of to get some sort of real traction and movement on quality. Okay, slide 4, next slide, please. Okay, great. So we started off, we had really good engagement with our SHEC, and we developed our charter, which I'm hoping you will have seen. We've sort of tried to launch that and get that out there to as many people as possible. And you can see we've got the real commitment there from Nick Harris, our CEO. That is available. We've also launched an e-learning that is available on the supply chain school, but also available, any National Highways colleagues that are on the call, it's available on our internal systems via Thrive, if you prefer to access it that way. And that really is about actually just sort of, again, raising the profile of quality and giving that sort of awareness to people across National Highways and across the industry. So as I mentioned, we talked about SHEC then. I didn't really touch on sort of the members of SHEC, just sort of for clarity there. So Duncan, you will all sort of know Duncan Smith, he's the ops director. He sits at SHEC. Nicola Bell sits on SHEC. So that's the level that we're communicating at really in terms of our work in this space. And Paul Doney also sort of reports monthly into SHEC. Next slide, please. Thank you. There's a little bit of a lag here. Apologies for that, but bear with us. Okay, so our focus was 6 quality priorities. Now, Nick Harris was really keen that as a new group, we didn't go away and develop a strategy and come back in 6 months' time. So SHEC set these priority areas for us to focus on as a group, and that's where our focus has been in the immediate term. I'll be going through them, but I'm just going to cover off a couple of them now. So the P3 one, the asset lifespan performance metrics. So sort of a little bit about that. So when we build and maintain an asset with our supply chain to a particular standard, we sometimes have a limited understanding on how long that's actually going to last. And we want to develop standards and a means for testing that. So that, after a couple of years after construction, where are we at in terms of the lifespan of that asset? Do we understand how it's going to deteriorate and why it's going to be deteriorating? And is it performing as we anticipated and expected? And then if not, what's our remedy to fix it? So we're having a focus on road markings in this space. My colleague Rob Andrews is leading on that, but I'm heavily involved, obviously, in ops. We put a lot of road markings down. So we've been working with some of the road marking suppliers, and also we're going to be engaging very shortly with our ops road markings asset leads. So just setting that call up now. On the P5 one, that's the independent works examiner role. Excuse me. My colleague Andy Grove has been looking at that. Now he's been looking at that from a bit of a sort of major project space. But that really is about, we have a lot of supply self-assurance in place, but unfortunately it's not always adequate to deliver compliant work. And I'll be talking about something called significant quality incidents further through, and you'll get a bit of a flavour of that there. And we found there that the works inspection models are not always applied consistently, and that can lead to commercial tensions. What we're doing in the ops space is we're also working quite closely with our scheme delivery colleagues and the construction managers and the site supervisors and the people in that space, so we can understand that a little bit more and sort of see where can we look to sort of make improvements in that. Next slide, please. So this was priority 1, significant quality incidents. So they're, as I think I mentioned before, they're reported monthly to our SHEC. And this is something new to us as a business, and reaching out to our supply chain, is that we want to know about these things now. We want them being reported into us. We recognise we're a bit of a journey on this in terms of getting that message out there and getting that confidence in transparency and being quite open about them, and supply chain reporting them in. I won't go through the detail here because I know these are being circulated, the slide decks, but you can see here, this is sort of gives us sort of the level of what are significant quality incidents. We know, particularly in ops, you've got your quality performance assurance teams that work really closely with your quality people. You're working closely out on site with your site supervisors and the project delivery teams. And there are lots of issues, defects, and things that will get resolved there at that level. This is about significant stuff. This is like the big stuff here, as you can see there. Don't get too hung up in terms of the value, because sometimes we've heard, well, we can't really estimate the value now. I think within a project team, if you know something's gone significantly wrong as a project team, I think you will know about that. That delay, that significant rework piece, where you're thinking, actually, we had a significant road closure, something's gone wrong, we've now got to go out and do another road closure. There's a huge amount of impact on that and the project team in terms of the engagement with stakeholders and the people that are involved and that have an impact on that. So if we go to the next slide, I've got a little bit more on SQIs here. Okay, so this talks about the levels of them and how you can report one. So there's a link there in the form. So we've been asked, well, who has the onus to sort of put in that form? That can be anybody from the project team. From my experience, I say, like I say, if it's significant enough, you should be discussing it as a project team. So that can be your project manager, it could be the supply chain. Currently, some of the routes that they're finding their way through to us are via SES. And that's been because it's a significant issue. Potentially you've had to go to SES for a departure or for some technical advice, and SES have then alerted it to us. What we do then is we engage with the project team to get a bit more of an understanding about the incident, and then we triage it as a quality team to put a level on that in terms of it being 1, 2, or 3. Because there are things out there that, you will resolve as a project team, and it's a bit of an awareness for us. And there'll be other things that actually, no, maybe we need to get a bit more involved in this. And potentially, if it is really significant and a high level 1, that responsibility of resolving that does sit with the quality team. So as we're taking them through to SHEC, as I say, on a monthly basis, this is because it's a fairly new process, this is prompting a discussion at SHEC in terms of Duncan and Nicola. Well, is that an SQI? Is that sort of day-to-day sort of project issues that will be resolved through sort of existing processes? So still learning on this, but I think on my other slide there, I gave there's a couple of photographs there that I didn't cover off. You will have seen on the right that there were sort of, and to me this is significant. This did become a significant quality incident where we had 3 incidents of concrete central reservation barrier designs. One of which resulted in a snake-like formation, which was not to specification. So if we look at that, that design made its way all the way through our processes, all through our checks on site, and were actually built on site. And then when we looked into that, there were 2 of the similar designs in the process getting ready to go out, and we were able to stop those, identify them prior to them to go into construction. So they can vary, the scale of them, but I would advise, if you think something's gone on your project, have a conversation as a project team. By all means, reach out to me or fill in the form, and that starts the ball rolling in terms of the dialogue and the discussion. And if we want to talk about those at the end, I'm sure we can sort of recap on that if people would like to. Slide 8, please. Next one. Okay, so SHEC wanted to see more data on quality than our existing processes had. So we've been developing a quality performance system. And on that, we've got the sort of the project level sort of monthly reporting. And a lot of that goes on via the CPF and sort of other routes. And then we're developing an annual reporting system in terms of that supplier maturity assessment in quality. So on the sort of monthly reporting system, I've got a slide. We've been part of the CPF refresh for the quality metric that hopefully you'll have seen. I've got a slide on that. So we've been really engaged with our supply chain and also our quality performance assurance teams and also our scheme delivery and construction managers to try and get that metric in a really strong place. And then in terms of the supplier maturity assessments, this is something new for us. And so we've developed that. We've just started a trial. We've trialed out with one supplier and we had some really good feedback on that. So we've taken on board that feedback for sort of part 2 of the trial that we'll be going out to a supplier in September on that, taking on their feedback. And the aim for that really is to sort of roll that out throughout this year and next with our strategic suppliers. Which currently there's about sort of 20 strategic suppliers that will be focusing in on that. But what we will be doing with that is we'll be sharing that, will be available to people, to suppliers to have a look at and think, oh, so that's the sort of thing they're looking at and that's what the assessment looks like. So that will become available. Okay, next slide, please. It's about the CPF. Okay. I'm not sure if that's the right slide. Okay, I had a slightly different version on that. Apologies, or maybe I've lost it. Yeah, okay. So this is the latest CPF document, and hopefully you'll have seen this because this was launched for ops. It's launched from the 1st of July, and I was chatting to Dave Kitson yesterday, and my understanding is that the comms went out last Monday. So hopefully you're aware, and this isn't sort of completely new to you. And what we want to do with the quality metric is we want to put in a more robust scoring criteria, particularly to achieve in that 8-10 space, because this is the data, as I referenced in the quality performance system, that will start feeding into SHEC. And the reason for this is we wanted to really sort of identify and encourage better reporting of sort of the product aspect of what's going out on site in terms of construction, because we're really focused on the quality in construction. We know there's the relationship with the quality performance assurance teams, and that's about your assurances and your processes in certain areas, but we're about sort of the product out on site. And there's a sort of general feeling that this is currently underreported. We want to be able to differentiate between suppliers. For those that, yes, you know, they're meeting the contractual requirements, that's fine. But who are those that are going above and beyond in that space and going further, starting to understand the cost of non-conformancy. And then we can get that data and to understand which of our suppliers are performing better in respect to quality. We've engaged extensively on this metric, lots of dialogue on this, but you should have the latest version of it now with you via Dave Kitson, and that'll sit on the supplier information hub as well, as my understanding. Next slide, please. So moving on to the other priority now, which is pavement, and this is one that I lead on. So anyone from the pavement delivery framework here will hopefully have an awareness of this or be directly supporting me on this, which has been really appreciated. So Nick Harris was really keen on this priority to a commitment to increase our pavement life. You know, is our pavement life lasting, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of assets, as long as it should? We set up a working group with the pavement supply chain and identified some sort of key priority actions that we took to SHEC and were signed off on. And the key one there is, I think this is Lorraine, this is I've made some amendments to this slide deck, so I'll have to send out the latest version. Apologies, I was having problems this morning with my IT. So on the 5-year warranty, so we had a workshop with the pavement supply chain, and we identified that actually, as part of thin surface course, we have a 5-year warranty on this as a product. that we very rarely call back on. So we did identify that in the Southwest, they had a localized process where they would engage with the supply chain, say, actually, you know, we know this product's only been down a year, 2 years, then, you know, we consider this to be under warranty. We're expecting you to come back and do a repair. So we looked into that process, and we wanted to sort of make that more data-driven process. So we've been working really closely internally with all of the key stakeholders, from the pavement asset leads in SCS, from the confirm people where all defects are registered via our highways inspectors, to the pavement asset management system, through to the scheme delivery people, the construction team, the highways inspectors, the regional ops, pavement asset lease, and we're developing nearly there on this, a process to sort of to trial that out. So our aim is to trial sort of, it will be July. We've had a bit of a stall in terms of getting data out of the pavement asset management system, working with TRL on that. Because what we want to do is we want to have a real sort of data-driven approach. So we'll have the information from the highways inspector that reports the defect, but then what that defect will do then from CMAR will feed into the pavement asset management system. The pavement asset management system holds all the records of when that surface was laid, and therefore that when we do consider actually as part of the decision process there is actually, is that justification for that location, for that surface that was laid, for that purpose? Is there a warranty issue here? And then there is the engagement with the supply chain on that. So sort of watch that space on that. But if you're in the southwestern area, 10, that will be going out to trial in July. I have had feedback from the pavement community. This is a collaborative discussion. So that's not to say we can't challenge on this and we can't have challenging conversations in a collaborative way, but that is the ethos of this. Is it's not a adversarial approach that we are looking for. We're looking for a collaborative approach. We've then been working on developing capability. So we've got Heidelberg there, but I must stress, you know, we've got a number of pavement delivery framework suppliers working on this, on all of these actions on this with me. And that really is about actually upskilling not only your workforce and your sort of operatives, but also internally our site supervisors, our construction people. So yeah, suppliers really taking the helm and sort of leading on that. Not only Heidelberg, but Tarmac and AI as well, also heavily involved in that. Weather risk management is about the what risk management do the suppliers have in place in terms of oh yeah, just aware of time, sorry. You can see this is the one I'm quite heavily involved in, so probably overkilling on this one. But yeah, so watch this space on that. Again, we're collating what you do within each supplier, and where how can we benchmark that, what's good practice, and share that across. Next slide then, please. Okay, priority 4, really quickly, supplier quality awards. We had an awards in the national highways industry for the first time last year on quality. Fantastic response, and the winner was Morgan Sindel on that. Incentivization, so that's a piece of work that we're sort of looking at. How can we get better on in the quality space in our future contracts? So in SDF2, you know, what can quality look like, that appendix for quality in SDF2? Next slide, please. Okay, this was a huge piece of work that Victoria and the team undertook in terms of capturing our whole sort of end-to-end process and the number of steps and processes that are embedded in there, that the data we're getting from our significant quality incidents, we could take, actually they're not all being followed as robustly as they could. You know, there are quality controls in there are steps in there, but still things are slipping through the gap. So that's a piece of work that we're developing now, and that will inform our future thinking in terms of our next priorities and our next workspace. Next slide, please. I think it's the last one. Great, yeah. So how can you help us? I mean, this really is about, and I use this internally as well to say, please cascade this, the correct version with your into your groups and your operatives, and bring quality into the conversation. please, put it onto the agenda in the same way that you talk now about, obviously, covering safety, social value, carbon, the environment. You've been great supporting me and my colleagues, so really appreciate that continued support, and sort of just that collaborative working and sharing your thoughts and processes and projects and lessons learned, and also just highlight the e-learning that's available. I think that's it from me. If there's any questions or discussion, if we've got time, we'll catch those at the end.
I'm just having a look. There isn't anything at the moment in the Q&A. If anyone does have any questions you'd like to ask Lisa, drop them in now. We can pick them up later too. So if you have questions, you might want to say who you want to direct them at. And we're going to just hand over in a moment to Cliff. That was excellent, Lisa, particularly looking at design, the early stages of projects around safety, health, environment and quality, that new kind of SHEC overarching framework. Really good to hear about the priorities in pavements as well. So that's a good example of the proactive approach that's been taken and the collaboration with suppliers, some of whom may be on the call. So if you are, feel free to drop in, anything that you want to share there in the chat. And yeah, if people have anything they want to share around the data-driven approach, or reporting to really think about preventing future issues happening around quality, that would be great to hear about too. So are you all set to go, Cliff? I'll pass the baton to you now. You're going to share there. So we're going to hear from Cliff Smith.
What screen are you seeing? Are you seeing my presentation?
Yes, we certainly are. We're seeing the window as well. So I think just slide. Yep, that's it. That looks fine. Brilliant. Thank you, Cliff.
Excellent. Right. Well, good afternoon, and thanks for this opportunity to speak with you about GIRI. Over the years, there's been considerable discussion and views expressed throughout the industry about processes to ensure things are right. Inspections, checking and tests. But what I'm going to talk to you about is how GIRI are set up to help avoid errors in the first place, get it right. I'm going to talk to you about GIRI and what we're doing to try and help the industry eliminate error. And what we show is that a drive for a quality product from briefing and design through to completion and handover can inform and improve all elements of project delivery. Back in 2015, an ICE best practice group asked themselves the question, how much is error costing the industry? And what is the impact of the ensuing waste on productivity? The conclusion was, we don't know. Funding was obtained from industry to carry out a research project, and this led us to the establishment of a strategy for change and the birth of GIRI. We employed ground theory analysis and the Delphi method in our research, and this is the summary of the results. The overall wasted spend on error amounts to 21% of turnover. And if you think about the construction industry, turns over what, 100 billion plus, you can see how much money is potentially being wasted alongside other waste. There's a direct cost of error, which is more easily measurable from NCRs and the like, and comes out at 5%. But the indirect cost of error is the impact on other parties, particularly in terms of delay and disruption, leading to loss and expense claims. And this amounts to 7% of turnover. We have unrecorded process waste at 6%, is where errors occur, they're corrected, but there's no records made. But the waste and the loss is still there. Latent defects are those which are identified after the handover of an asset and cost about 3%. Now, this has a range depending on project size and complexity, probably in 10 to 25%, but it's still an order of magnitude higher than the average construction company profit margins. It's worth noting that studies in the USA and Australia came up with similar results, so we can quickly see there's a clear imperative to avoid error. Now, these were the areas which the research found to be the highest spend, and you can see a variety there which you're probably familiar with. But of course, we do pour a lot of concrete, so there's no great surprise there. But this is more interesting, the root causes of error. The research concluded that these were the top 10 root causes of error, and Giri's activities following the result of the research have been targeted on root causes. Planning tops the list, and that's planning both in the macro sense of overall project planning and in the micro sense of that day-to-day task planning. Design features in 6 of the items on the list and is clearly an area for attention. Culture is important, as well as coping with financial and time pressures. Supervisory skills are also a major factor. So this is a summary: culture, planning, design, and supervision. We found as we sought to roll out our thinking that the behaviour and culture towards quality in the industry was undermining attempts to improve. What is culture? Well, simply put, it's the ideas, customs, behaviour of a particular society or group of people. And how do we change it? Well, we need to affect the behaviours and customs of the people involved in the construction industry. And it's important not to forget the human tragedy associated with construction errors and their associated defects. Last year, Giri arranged a forum led by the Railway Accident Inspection Board inspector, excuse me, who reported on the Carmont train derailment. The report exposed issues in communication and culture, and you can see a recording of that webinar on our YouTube link if you wish. We know also about the defects at the Oxgangs Primary School in Scotland, whereby only timing and luck meant there was no injuries or deaths. I think it was around 9 tons of masonry that fell. And in England, of course, we had the 72 lives lost in the Grenfell Tower disaster. Dame Judith Hackett's report following the disaster was scathing about attitudes and culture, and in particular, the corrosive effect of the lowest cost procurement culture. Well, this is what Giri's trying to deal with. And we can see the impact of cultural change in the industry when we look at safety. Back in 2003, the very poor safety record in the industry was challenged by John Prescott, who was then Deputy Prime Minister. This was backed by a focus on compliance with the terms of health and safety legislation. There was an initial improvement based on minimum to comply, but that soon plateaued, and it was only through cultural change that followed that the real transformation took place to deliver the safer sites we have today. The Building Safety Act has some potential here, but Giri are overall dedicated to driving this cultural change. We were established following the original research as a not-for-profit organisation, membership-based, with the strategic aim of improving industry productivity through the elimination of error, and we became a limited company in 2017. The research demonstrated the link between error elimination and productivity, and this helped to convince businesses in the industry as to the benefits of investing in a zero-error program. But the world is changing. Boardrooms are now recognising the broader range of imperatives they need to satisfy, including safety, sustainability, and quality. An error-free strategy provides a platform for achieving all these objectives, and our strategic aim now reflects that. Let's take a quick look at that logic behind our philosophy on productivity. Understanding our definition is the first step, and we use a base of inputs and outputs related to effectiveness and efficiency. Now, efficiency is the ratio of amount produced, i.e. the output, for a stated amount of time and resource, which is the input. Effectiveness relates primarily to the quality of outputs, however that may be defined. So improving productivity relates to both, because efficiently producing the wrong thing is not productive. So therefore, quality is key. These are the prime aims and objectives we adopted to realise our strategy, create a culture and working environment to get it right, change attitudes and harness leadership, engage all stakeholders in eliminating error, share knowledge, and improve skills. And to achieve these goals, we saw these as the four main activities we needed to undertake: deliver a strategic awareness campaign, develop and implement a skills program, processes, systems and technology, and provide opportunities for members to share. Just to clarify, our role is about avoiding error. There are many involved in the industry considering various ways of setting up effective processes for the inspection and checking of work. And of course, this does have its place. Our focus, however, is on error avoidance. Feedback from previous areas is clearly important in the cycle, but our concentration is on the cultural change the industry needs to avoid error in the first place. We currently have over 100 members, private and public sector clients, consultants, contractors, lawyers and insurers, and this helps GIRI have a balanced approach. Let's take a quick look at how GIRI is going about achieving its objective of error reduction. We have a thought leadership role through our training, campaigns and forums on a wide diversity of subjects. And then we have our knowledge sharing through our research, and our reports are available on our website. We are highly active in social media, particularly on LinkedIn, and we provide opportunities for networking through our 4 members' meetings per annum. So what are the benefits of our approach? Well, I've talked about productivity. On the safety front, 37% of accidents are found to occur during rework. This was a research done in Australia, but it's equally applicable in the UK. And on sustainability, well, of course, if you're not wasting materials and time and effort, you are going to have a better carbon footprint and therefore be more sustainable. I think the quality benefit of getting it right is manifest. And if you're not wasting time and money, then your outputs, your outcomes are going to be more predictable. And that's going to give both individual companies and the construction industry as a whole a better reputation. These are the courses we offer. They're focused on behaviours and cultural change. Course development was part funded by members and part by the CITB. We have leadership training, interface and design management, and supervisor and manager training. And the most recent development is our trainer training course, where we obtained 660,000 from the CITB to have courses funded by levy payers. And we have now 4 tier 1 contractors who are approved training providers. This slide indicates it's an excerpt from our supervisor and manager course, but it emphasizes how we're trying to create an environment which is helpful to achieve a zero error environment. So build it in your brain and push pause to avoid error. We use push pause because we found that the word stop has all sorts of negative connotations. And these are a couple of examples of where people can push pause to avoid error. Drawings being issued with a lot of detail, or people not working out a sequence. Last year, we invested heavily in the creation of a framework for the systematic avoidance of error, which you can see here. And this is the GIRI maturity matrix, which we developed alongside the framework, enabling organisations to measure their readiness to manage error and support an error-free environment. And the matrix is based on an Excel-based tool, which effectively surveys key factors and results in a diagram showing where your business needs to concentrate efforts on improving maturity. A key priority for our campaigns has been to look at how we align our message on error reduction with other high-profile challenges. And a group of members back in 2019 produced our GIRI design guide, which is applicable to any project, particularly at its commencement and during early design stages. We have a number of working groups seeking to provide useful output on a variety of relevant error-reducing processes. Insurance is a challenging issue for the industry at the moment, and we're working with insurers to look at lessons to be learned. We have a technology group considering technologies for error avoidance and a BSA steering group. And it's said you need to measure in order to manage, and we're working with the CLC to develop a cross-industry quality metrics. We need to have the right culture throughout the industry so that people feel empowered to act in ways which reduce error to the benefit of those in the industry and those who live and work in the buildings and infrastructure we create. We need to change the way we work and behave now, and if we do that, we'll have a better industry that is more cost effective and has a better reputation. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Cliff. You whistled through that very quickly, didn't you? With the time, that was excellent. Thank you. Really interesting overview there around GIRI. I'm just going to have a look now to see if there was anything in the Q&A before we move on. Everyone's quiet today. We did have someone messaging directly, but just to flag up that around procedures and templates and the importance of upskilling through collaboration. So just to flag that up, really, that obviously if you did want to get in touch with Lisa today after the session, that would be absolutely fine, and we'll share some of the contact details there. So I'm going to just share my slides again. Sorry, 1 second. And then we'll move on to the last part of the session. If this will play ball. Sorry, 1 second. I can't see my screen properly. Sorry, struggling to find the Zoom again. Here we go. So we will get there. Decided to change which screen I'm sharing from. Yep, so we'll carry on now with Samantha. I'll just get to your slide in a second, Samantha, sorry. True. Did have it all set to go, best laid plans. Here we go.
Happens to the best of us, Lorraine, don't worry.
Thank you very much. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Excellent. We got there.
I'll kick off then. Thank you. So, hi everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with us. I'm Sam Ratcliffe, and I work at Atkins Realis as the Technical Development and Governance Manager. I'm also the Quality Manager for the Area 6 and 8 Design Service contract, with past experience across all legs of the National Highways Operations Contract Model 2. Today I'll be giving a brief overview of how the design function impacts the quality of our schemes. Thank you, Cliff, for that wonderful setup. It was perfectly as if we planned this. Things that we've implemented within our business to ensure that quality is designed in from the offset, and a few examples of activities that I've found to be quite effective on my time in the Area 6 and 8 contract. So, firstly, we look at where design fits into the entire scheme lifecycle. So hopefully this stage 0 to 6 project lifecycle diagram is familiar to everyone. This is based, sorry, yeah, that one, thank you. This is based on the National Highways. Onto slide 2, please, Lorraine. Sorry, that's perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. Where am I? And this is based on the National Highways 3D delivery model. So hopefully we're all familiar with that. As a designer, our core service is detailed design, right? And that is the final design stage just before the work makes it to site. So that's with all the information that our construction partner will need to deliver the project. However, we do also touch the project at scheme closeout, so that will be collating the as-built records in the health and safety file. And in some instances, we will also be involved in the preliminary design too. So that's where we add flesh to the preferred option and first begin to consider the practicalities of the scheme, how we're going to actually, develop the solution. So stepping back and taking this holistic view of a scheme, it contextualizes where we as designers have opportunity, and that's to influence. It also helps us to remember our future customers of the design, and I mean that by internal customers. I mean it cross-organisationally between our various companies and ultimately to the end customer too. So if you're unsure where your business touches this overall process, I would recommend stepping back and mapping it out like I have. Like the visuality of it can be super helpful with that. And then also when talking about the life cycle in terms of quality, straight away my brain goes to defects and errors. That is the creation of, the passing on, and then the correction of them too. Data shows that the longer a defect remains within a project or a scheme, that's left to right, the greater the impact of that defect. And when I say impact, I mean the negative consequences of an issue. For example, if it manifests on site, as Lisa mentioned, there will be rework, it causes delays, increased costs, and sometimes, unfortunately, it introduces safety risks for the workforce. And then, if not identified and treated, these defects may ultimately be passed on all the way through to the end customer. And we see the human cost of error, as Cliff described earlier, which is absolutely not what we want. So as passionate design and construction professionals, it's our mission to never let this happen. On the flip side of this, though, looking at the effort to resolve or correct defects, the further left we are in this process, the much less effort is required. So if we catch an error during detailed design, dealing with it will hit time, cost and safety much less than, say, in construction or maintenance. And that's one of our quality priorities within the design function. Next slide, please. So being mindful of the part we play in the whole delivery process, we as designers ask ourselves these questions. It's about how we can bring design decisions and error elimination as far left as possible, and how do we improve the overall lifespan of the asset we're working on. Ideally, by designing a solution that requires less frequent visits to maintain or renew would be a great outcome, wouldn't it? And that ties back in with what Lisa was saying about that asset, like that, how long an asset will be on the network for and how frequently we have to return. We also want to know how to design for leaner and safer phases too. So we want to design with construction in mind, minimising their time on site where possible and utilising modern methods of construction to do so. All of these questions are part of our design for quality mantra here at AtkinsRéalis, and we appreciate the impact that design does and can have on our schemes. We work continuously to improve in this space. Next slide, please. How do we design for quality then? Well, with excellence being part of our DNA, we work hard to plan for quality, we work to assure it, we work to check for quality and to improve our quality. Sounds familiar for those who are into the plan, do, check out cycle. If I wanted to share everything we do, I'd be here all day, and I appreciate we've all got day jobs, so I've just pulled through a top high-level examples that we could go through. Firstly, we have what we call is OCRA, so that's originate, check, review, and authorise, and this is our quality control process in action. Every single deliverable we produce will go through this, and that's to ensure we meet design standards. We also meet the brief given by the client and that the deliverable is fit for release. Each stage of OCRA is carried out by an independent, competent person, and we view it like a Swiss cheese model, so no error shall pass is the theory there. Up next is our mentality, so right first time is great, and we're building on that with no fault forward. The logic behind this is being that we will never knowingly pass or accept errors, increasing personal accountability for each part we play. This again is application of the left shift mentality, but with an internal focus. So the design stage can take a long time. Let's not increase that with rework if we can, right? So the third one there is standardization and automation. So we're fortunate as a designer to largely be dealing with data and documents and kind of non-physical elements, okay? So we can utilize digital tools to help us get through that. Doing so gives us the benefits of a quicker delivery of outputs, a consistent standard of quality of outputs, and it frees up resources to do the more value-adding activities. A fair amount of work is required up front to do this in a meaningful way, but from what I've seen, it certainly can pay dividends. The fourth point, learning from our industry peers. Just even like lunch and learns like this, it's so awesome. Innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum, so at AtkinsRéalis we seize every opportunity to get together with our client and fellow suppliers. My colleagues and I actively participate in the National Highways Quality Supplier Forum and its priority working groups too. Personally, I'm part of the Quality Incentivisation Group, and the amount of inspiration I get from discussions with my counterparts is amazing. I would strongly recommend getting involved if you're not already. And then my fifth point and final point there is similar to the fourth, but expanding beyond highways and seeing how other sectors do things. Fortunately, in my organisation, we span across many sectors, aviation, nuclear, defence, etc. Networking and sharing learnings across the wider engagement industry has been insightful. And it ultimately helps us level up for all of our customers and clients. So these are a few more of the general things we do to improve quality and to enhance the quality of our design work. On to the next slide, please. And I promise I will keep the pace up. So on to some specific examples within highways ops. I'm hoping to share a few of my favourite examples, and I feel that these could be implemented by anyone on this call, regardless of which lot you're in. So let's talk process mapping for just one moment. Yes, supplier-defined processes are contractually required, one of those must-dos during mobilisation. But beyond that, there's so much value to be gained from using these as living, breathing ways of working. In the past, I facilitated joint process mapping sessions between ourselves, client and construction colleagues. And being able to get into a room, tease out the pain points, we can build in value-adding activities. It's been beyond valuable. It's great for quality purposes, but also it's a big box in the collaboration space too. Better yet, producing a process map as an output means that what we've learned that day won't fall into the space of corporate amnesia, right? It won't be forgotten weeks or months later. It's clearly documented for new starters too. Thinking again of left shift, measures can be introduced at various points within the process. So one can be alerted if something is not going to plan. And instead of getting to the end of the process to measure lagging performance, why not have indicators along the way so we can get ahead of it? Having a visual process map as part of our Plan, Do, Check, Act is always my preferred approach. The visuality of it helps those of us who can sometimes struggle with classic quality plans, big solid blocks of text. So it's an inclusivity win to be had too. Next slide, please. Quality culture. So it's one of those things that's complicated to define, except unless you're Cliff Smith and he managed to do it really well. But you know it when you see it, right? So the culture I've always tried to cultivate is that quality is an enabler of improvement. So non-conformances, although not wanted in the first place, they're to be treated as a means to improve our processes. Just like for significant quality incidents, safety incidents, a psychologically safe culture is there to help raise these unfavourable events. It's got to be in place. So I take the view to be hard on the process, not the person. Whilst keeping accountability, sure, we will not blame individuals for the part they played, and we make that crystal clear. This helps bring diversity of thought to any corrective action planning, and it'll improve uptake of any subsequent measure introduced. In a similar effort, how we learn lessons is critical too, taking a fair and independent view of when things don't go so well, or when they do. It'll keep the learnings coming. So I'm a fan of doing post-completion reviews of schemes with a range of representation with people from cradle to the grave of that project. When facilitated with collaboration in mind, the insights from these are vital. But then what do we do with those lessons learned, I hear you ask? Well, we could put them back to our processes, as I referred to on my previous slide, and better yet, we can create a one-page summary of the lesson we're learning. So we've adopted a learning event summary bulletin approach, which will explain to staff in a reasonable amount of detail what's gone on. I've used the 3C approach, so that's concern, cause, countermeasure, to concisely inform staff, not just what we've learned, but how and why we're learning it. And it helps win hearts and minds when making changes in business, I find. So sharing the context can greatly improve how well changes are embedded by our people in a proactive way. We're about to run out of time. I've got like one slide left. Do you want me to keep going? Yes, okay, sorry, okay. And my last big takeaway from Area 6 and 8 is how we've actively merged quality management and Lean Six Sigma. So personally, I'm both a CQI quality practitioner and I'm a soon-to-be qualified Lean Six Sigma black belt too. Those synergies are just too hard to ignore for me. So I've seen this happen, the integration of the two practices, a bit more business as usual in other sectors. I think it's something we might want to pay attention to a bit more in highways if I had anything to do with it. But I know I found lots of benefit from it. So few ways we've used Lean Six Sigma as part of our quality toolkit are: we use DMAKE, so that's the define, measure, analyze, improve and control approach, to handle more complex non-conformances. When sometimes you get a monster of one, it helps you really break it down in a meaningful way. We've also focused on scalable approaches, so that's using automation and standardization where we can, in terms of guidance, templates and CAD automation. Oh, and we've even introduced a bot or an automation function to help us manage our incoming CMARC or respondents, so it just makes life a little easier. Highways Ops is the perfect place to embed this, in my opinion, and that's due to the high volume, low complexity schemes we have in our programme. There's been great success in ensuring a consistent standard of work and a reduction of errors, and an added bonus has been extra evidence for our annual Helma too. Final slide, please. Thank you all so much for listening to this update. I'm sorry we're about out of time, but it's been awesome to be able to share the ways that we're deploying quality in the design space. I do hope there's some food for thought for everyone else too, regardless of whether you design or build or maintain. Please do reach out to me if there's anything you'd like to discuss offline. I would be thrilled to do so. And with that, I shall take a breath and hand back over to our hosts. Thank you.
You so much, Samantha. That was a really good, a really energizing end to the session, actually. And you gave some fantastic examples around process mapping. There's a real lot of meat in the whole webinar today, I think, in terms of what suppliers can take away, but also we know that suppliers are doing a lot yourselves as well. So I think, just as Samantha was saying, sharing that experience is really important. I'm just going to have a quick check to see if there's any questions here. Can't see that there is any questions, but obviously you do have the details of the that you can get in touch directly, and would really like to hear from you. So in these webinars and in the workshops that we do, if you do feel that you have examples, we would really like for you to get in touch with the school and with the panelists here today as well. So please do that. I wanted to flag up as well that there's going to be a National Highways Major Projects virtual conference hosted by the school on the 18th of September. We're just in the planning stages of this. There will be a quality session within that. We'd love to hear from suppliers that would like to have some things maybe that you would like to share. It's being organised mainly for the regional delivery partners. However, all frameworks are welcome to attend, because through the day there'll be lots of workshops and learning, as well as the presentations. So I'll just double check if there's anything come in. No, we've just got links in there for you. So I'm just going to let you, we've run on just by 2 minutes, which isn't too bad because we've covered a lot of ground. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and thank you to all the panelists as well. And there's a feedback form. Would love it if you could fill that out and send it back to us as well. Thank you very much for joining, everyone.
Thanks all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.